Tommy Fury has sought to intimidate a scared Jake Paul into agreeing to reschedule their rematch after it was called off in December. Will the Jake Paul-Tommy Fury match ever happen? Here's what we know. First, let's dive into the canceled bout. Jake Paul's battle with Tommy Fury was canceled just 2 weeks before it was scheduled to take place. Fury, the half-brother of heavyweight champion Tyson, was set to fight Paul on December 18th in Tampa after months of taunting on social media, but Fury realized he had a broken rib and a chest infection, which forced him to withdraw. Tyron Woodley, a former UFC welterweight champion, stepped in for Fury, having already met Paul in August when he was defeated by his fellow American via split decision. Paul is 4-0 with knockout victories over fellow YouTuber Anison Gibb, an ex-NBA player Nate Robinson, and former MMA champion Ben Askren. Meanwhile, Fury is 7-0 as a professional, and the Brit's still looking for a bout with Paul, who is 24 years old. Following his withdrawal from the December fight, Fury, age 22, stated that all of his attention is now focused on securing a new fight date and recovering. He can only wait on recovery for the time being. He has no choice but to get his body in shape as quickly as possible and search for a new bout with Jake Paul. Apart from a battle with Paul, there's no other fight he wants out there. Probable cause of injury. Fury, who rose to prominence as a Love Island competitor, was assisted by half-brother Tyson during his training camp for the Paul fight. Paul even speculated that the world heavyweight champion may have hurt Tommy. In reference to video evidence of Tyson tossing a medicine ball onto his younger brother's midsection, Paul informed the MMA Hour that it's quite plausible that Tyson broke a rib, because when Paul himself does that drill, they take measures and are cautious because he often hears stories of fighters getting wounded while working on their abs. Fury cited a chest infection as the reason for his withdrawal, in addition to a damaged rib. The Brit said he was in his sparring sessions, pad work sessions, and whatever he was doing, he couldn't breathe and coughed up massive volumes of phlegm all the time. It apparently caused him to have restless nights for approximately 4 weeks, since he had the attitude of, I'm going to keep training, I'm going to get through this, I'm going to have the fight no matter what. Let's see why Fury believes Paul is scared. Fury has continued to press for their bout to be rescheduled following Paul's knockout victory over Woodley, despite Paul's repeated denials. The unbeaten British boxer has now stepped up his efforts to reschedule a meeting with Paul, alleging the problem child is scared of him. According to Fury, this individual never intended to fight him, as reported by The Sun. They would postpone it if he did. Fury declares that he would no longer allow him to use the old "Tommy was scared" as an excuse. He believes that now we can all agree that Paul is the only one who appears to be scared. But Paul's not interested anymore. Fury has not fought since claiming his 8th professional victory on the undercard of Paul's first encounter with Woodley in August. In his debut fight outside of England, he won a unanimous decision over Anthony Taylor and is now aiming to compel Paul to fight him again. However, Paul has frequently discounted Fury's prospects of rescheduling their fight, even hinting at a move towards MMA. The 25-year-old American spoke with the MMA Hour on the idea of facing Fury, claiming that Fury is deluded and that he kind of wasted his shot and his opportunity. Paul also remarked that he would want to see him face Tyron Woodley and see what happens, because he believes Tyron will knock Tommy out, and he almost wants to see them fight. Paul then went on to say that people only knew Tommy because of him, and that he wants Tommy to go get some of his own fans, or clout, or do something else, and then maybe they can think about the potential of a fight again after that. Now, in other news, Robert Easter Jr. shot and robbed. After being shot 3 times and robbed on Sunday night, IBF lightweight champion Robert Easter Jr. had surgery in Cincinnati, Ohio on Monday. The bullets have been extracted from his body, and he's expected to recover. Easter Jr. had 3 diamond rings stolen, as well as his iPhone and 2 gold chains. It's not apparent if the gold chains were the heavy, costly kind that may occasionally lead to disaster. According to WTOL 11, the 31-year-old Easter Jr., with a record of 23-1-1 and 14 knockouts, was confronted by a swarm of assailants on Sycamore Street in Cincinnati, Ohio on Sunday evening, who asked him for money. Easter Jr. last fought in February of 2021, defeating Ryan Martin by a one-sided 12-round unanimous decision in Uncasville, Connecticut, and hasn't fought since, and he has no fights booked in 2022. Easter Jr.'s career has stagnated since losing his IBF 135-pound championship to Mikey Garcia in July 2018, with him fighting in a 12-round draw against Rances Barthelemy in early 2019, and then beating journeyman Adrian Granados by a one-sided 10-round majority decision at light welterweight in October 2019. It seems the fighter retired. Next, Savannah Marshall claims Clarissa Shields' match was a boredom fest. Savannah Marshall has accused Clarissa Shields of subjecting spectators to a boredom fest and threatens to defeat the American to become the undisputed middleweight champion when the two eventually meet in what she feels will be the biggest bout in women's boxing. If Marshall successfully defends her WBO championship against Femke Hermans on March 12th, it is believed that the duo will compete for the IBF, WBA, and WBC middleweight crowns, which Shields retained in Cardiff on Saturday night with a win over Emma Kozin in her UK debut. Marshall was in attendance for the match and was shown sarcastically yawning responding to the camera during Shields' points victory before later criticizing Shields' performance in a furious altercation at ringside. Marshall entered her bout with Herman's 11-0 with the 9 knockout victories, while Shields' last win extended her record to 12-0, including 2 knockouts. Up next, Zhali Zhang agrees to fight Filip Hrgovic. Zhali Zhang, a heavyweight, has agreed to meet Filip Hrgovic in an IBF title eliminator in order to become the mandatory challenger to Alexander Usyk. According to Dan Raphael, the 38-year-old two-time Chinese Olympian Zhang, with a 23-0-1 record with 18 knockouts, has accepted to meet the unbeaten Hrgovic, who's 14-0 with 12 knockouts, in an IBF championship eliminator. However, the two must still settle their dispute. Normally, Hrgovic punches his shorter opponents with strength, but in this case, we can expect his strikes will be straight. Of course, this is if Hrgovic doesn't spend the entire night punching Zhang in the back of his head with rabbit punches, which many believe might just be his signature move. Next, DAZN wants to see George Kambosos Jr. fight Ryan Garcia. DAZN is not interested in a bout between lightweight champions George Kambosos Jr. and Devin Haney. Ryan Garcia and Vasily Lomachenko are the two contenders at 135 who have a chance to face Kambosos next. According to trainer Robert Garcia, Kambosos' promoter Lou DiBella phoned him and told him that Ryan is the fighter they're looking at for their next bout. It makes financial sense for Kambosos to face Ryan Garcia next, since it would bring in a large number of DAZN subscribers. DAZN will get a lot of new subscribers as a result of Ryan's massive social media following and Kambosos' controversial personality. According to Dan Raphael, if Kambosos fights Ryan later this year, it will be on DAZN pay-per-view. That will not make boxing fans pleased, since neither Ryan Garcia, a 5-year professional, nor Australian Kambosos have done enough in their respective careers for a bout between them to be marketed to spectators. Next, Keith Thurman beats Mario Barrios. Keith, one-time Thurman, the former WBA, WBC welterweight champion, made a statement on Saturday night in Las Vegas with his comeback victory over Mario Barrios, 26-2 with 17 knockouts. Fighting for the first time in over 3 years, one-time Thurman, now 30-1 with 22 KOs, outboxed the younger opponent Barrios at the Michelob Ultra Arena, looking as though he'd hardly been gone. Both fighters were unharmed during the battle. However, Thurman seemed to be out of breath after being struck by a strong body blow from Barrios in round 8. Barrios was unable to capitalize on Thurman's desire to retreat in order to recuperate from the hit. Thurman was ragged in the championship rounds, needing to shuffle around to avoid being struck. It was a bit surprising that the crowd remained patient with Thurman and did not boo, since his incessant movement became tedious in the final 4 rounds. It would have been a more fascinating bout if Barrios had punching power, but he was clearly picked by Thurman's management because he isn't a puncher. And that's a wrap for this video. Do you think Paul would agree to reschedule a bout with Fury? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this, and we'll see you in the next one.